Hi, I'm Wendy from shinyhappyworld.com, and today I'm going to show you how to do basic hand sewing. You can actually sew pretty quickly by hand. I know a lot of you probably really want to use the machine, but if there are times when you don't have access to the machine or you're not allowed to use the machine, this is a basic sewing stitch that you can use to sew pretty much anything you want to. I've got my needle threaded, and I just want to show you how to do this. You've got the needle threaded, you've got one end knotted, and the other end is a loose tail. Do not pull both ends even and knot both of them. That's not a great way to learn how to sew. So knot one end, loose at the other end, and this is what I'm going to sew. I'm just going to sew a little seam down here. So you come up from one side, and then you're going to do, this is called a running stitch, and you're just going to go in and out, and see how I kind of fold that fabric back and forth? Get a number of stitches on the needle and then pull it through. Smooth it out and get some more stitches on the needle. As many as you want to. As many as you feel comfortable. It kind of depends on how long a needle you're using. And pull it through. If you need to draw a line on here to follow, that's a great idea. It's an easy way to follow it. I'm just doing about a 1/4 inch, a little bit more than a 1/4 inch seam. One thing that can happen, let me show you this, especially with beginning sewers, is they pull their stitches too tight and they start to gather it. And this can happen and you'll get all the way to the end of your sewing and you don't even realize you've done it at the beginning. So here's a little trick for that. Every time you pull some threads off your needle, smooth it out, and then I take a back stitch. Instead of starting one stitch ahead, I'm starting about a 1/2 stitch behind. That is going to lock that into place right there and keep it from becoming a gathering stitch. I'm going to just work my way up. Take that pin out. So I'm going to do another little back stitch to start with. And these are not embroidery stitches. They don't have to be perfectly even, but you want them to be relatively small. The smaller the stitches are, the stronger your seam is going to be. Make sure it's not puckered at all. Do another little back stitch. And you just keep working stitches, feeding them onto the needle. You're probably going to want to start sewing with a longer needle. That'll tend to make your stitches a little bit bigger. But as you get more practice, you'll be able to shift to a shorter needle, and that will just of necessity help you to make smaller stitches. Just remember that smaller stitches are stronger stitches, but you don't want them to be so small that you've only got 1 or 2 threads in there. These are, you don't really want them to be any smaller than what I'm showing you here. And in pretty much no time at all, we've sewn a pretty short seam, but if you were sewing up a beanbag or something like that, that just took a couple of seconds. I'm going to take a quick back stitch here to hold that in place, and then I want to turn it and show you what it'll look like. So you can turn that right side out, and you've got a seam. I mean, that's how people used to sew clothing before everybody had a sewing machine. It was all hand sewn. So that's it. Very simple running stitch to use for hand sewing. Come back next time and I'm going to show you how to use the machine. I'm Wendy Gratz from shinyhappyworld.com. Thanks.